showed up drunk at his work party with my new lover. He walked out without saying a word. Okay, so this happened like 3 months ago, and I keep thinking about it and wondering how I became this person, the person who would do something so messed up. But here I am writing it all out for literally no reason at all, literally. Maybe I just want to get everything out, or maybe I am crazy enough to let random people judge me. Now my ex's name is Davis, 28 years male. He used to work at a company called iTech, doing marketing or something equally boring. We were together for 2 years and 3 months. Not that anyone's counting anymore. I met Davis at a coffee shop near my apartment. He was sitting alone with his laptop doing work stuff. Had this focused look on his face that made him seem important, even though he was probably just answering emails. I was there with my friend Mia complaining about my latest dating disaster when I noticed him looking over at our table. Eventually he came over and asked if we wanted to join his trivia team. Said they needed 2 more people and we looked smart. Terrible pickup line, but it worked somehow. Davis was decent at trivia and even better at making conversation. We exchanged numbers and started texting that same night. Our first few dates were fine. Nothing crazy, but fine. Davis took me to normal places and paid for everything without making a big deal about it. He was polite to waiters and held doors open and all that basic respect stuff that honestly felt refreshing after dating guys who thought feminism meant I should pay for my own dinner. The relationship moved fast. Within 6 months, I was basically living at his place. Davis had this 1-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood. Not fancy, but clean and comfortable. He cooked most nights. We'd curl up on the couch with Netflix, and it felt easy. Safe. Almost like we were playing house, but in the best kind of way. He was the kind of boyfriend who paid attention. If I mentioned wanting to try a new Thai spot, he'd already have reservations by the weekend. When I was stressing over a work presentation, he'd show up with my favorite ice cream, sit with me, and just let me vent. He never jumped in with solutions. He just listened, and that alone made me feel understood. That first year was solid. Davis was steady. He had a good job at a company that was growing, and he was confident he'd be up for a promotion soon. He wasn't flashy about money, but he was responsible. Drove a Honda that was a few years old, kept in great shape. Everything about him just felt dependable. He introduced me to his friends who were all nice, normal guys with steady jobs and long-term girlfriends. His friends were the kind of crew that had game nights and backyard barbecues, the type who'd already started talking about mortgages and retirement like it was a normal dinner conversation. Davis blended right in. He was usually the one pulling people together, setting up trips, making sure nobody felt left out. Davis's family loved me immediately. His parents were these sweet middle-class people who'd been married for like 30 years and still held hands. They invited me to every holiday and birthday party. His mom would text me recipes, and his dad would ask about my job. They treated me like I was already part of the family, like Davis and I were obviously going to get married someday, which was a pretty scary thought for me. I mean, I wasn't looking to settle down or anything. I just wanted the stability Davis was bringing. But then I started getting restless. I don't even know why. Maybe because I needed something more in life. Mia was seeing this photographer who took her to gallery openings and knew all these artsy people. My coworker Emma was with a guy who owned his own business and bought her expensive jewelry just because. Even my sister was engaged to someone who took her on surprise weekend trips to wine country. Meanwhile, Davis and I slipped into this routine that felt less like dating and more like being roommates. He'd get home from work, we'd cook dinner, watch something, then head to bed. Weekends were errands, maybe a movie if we felt like it. It wasn't bad. It just got boring, really boring. Even the physical side of things had lost its spark. Predictable, basic. 2 words I never thought I'd use about my sex life. I started scrolling Instagram more than I should have, following all these lifestyle influencers who were posting about Michelin star dinners, surprise trips, private jets to island getaways. Their lives looked so shiny compared to my Tuesday nights at Olive Garden. I knew deep down social media was a highlight reel. Still, it got in my head. Work friends didn't help either. They'd ask why Davis never bought me nice gifts, or whisked me away for a weekend, or took me somewhere fun and Instagram-worthy. I'd laugh it off, saying he was just practical and responsible. But inside, I was starting to wonder if maybe they had a point. If I was settling for boring when I could have exciting. I started picking fights over stupid things, Like, why didn't we ever do anything spontaneous? Why didn't he plan surprise dates anymore? Why did we always go to the same restaurants? Davis would just look confused and ask what I wanted to do instead. But I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew I wasn't happy with what we had. The fights got worse when I started comparing Davis to other guys constantly. I couldn't help it. It was on my mind all the time. Things got more out of hand when I started hanging out with this group from work more. They were all single and always going out to bars and clubs and parties, living this social media perfect life that looked so much more fun than my relationship. I started going out with them more often, staying out later, coming home drunk and picking fights with Davis about how he never wanted to do anything exciting. Davis tried to keep up at first. He'd come out with us sometimes, but he was always the designated driver, always the responsible one, making sure everyone got home safe. My work friends thought he was sweet but boring. I could tell they felt bad for me, like I was settling for someone beneath me, and I agreed with them. I started feeling embarrassed being with Davis around other people, like he made me look boring by association. When we'd go out to bars, he'd order beer while other guys were buying bottle service. He'd wear regular clothes while other guys dressed like they were going to Fashion Week. He was just normal in a way that started feeling insufficient. That's when I met Hudson. Hudson was everything Davis wasn't, loud and confident and spontaneous. He worked in sales for some company and made good money, but spent it all on clothes and his car and going out. Hudson was the kind of guy who would show up at your apartment at midnight with champagne and convince you to drive to the beach just to watch the sunrise. I met him at one of those work happy hours. Davis couldn't come because he had some project deadline. Hudson bought me drinks all night and made me laugh until my sides hurt. He was charming in that dangerous way that makes you ignore all the red flags. When he asked for my number, I gave it to him even though I had a boyfriend at home. Being with Hudson felt like being in a movie, like I was finally living the glamorous life I'd been seeing on social media. I told myself we were just friends, that there was nothing wrong with having guy friends, but I started texting Hudson constantly, meeting him for coffee during lunch breaks, lying to Davis about where I was going and who I was with. The worst part is Davis trusted me completely. He never questioned anything or got suspicious, just believed whatever I told him. The lying became a rush, sneaking around and making up stories and having this secret life that Davis didn't know about. Hudson would send me flirty texts while I was sitting next to Davis on the couch. I'd delete them immediately, but the thrill of almost getting caught was addictive. Hudson knew I had a boyfriend, but he didn't care. Actually seemed to enjoy the challenge of stealing me away from someone else. He'd make comments about how Davis probably didn't appreciate me or know how to treat a woman like me, how I deserved someone more exciting and successful and ambitious. Hudson and I started hooking up about 2 months after we met. I know how that sounds. I know what kind of person that makes me. But being with Hudson felt like waking up after being asleep for months. Everything with him was intense and passionate and unpredictable. The sex with Hudson was completely different from Davis, too. Davis was gentle and considerate and always made sure I was comfortable. Hudson was rough and demanding and made me feel wanted in this primal way that was totally addictive. With Davis, sex felt like making love. With Hudson, it felt like being consumed. The guilt was eating me alive, but I couldn't stop. I was addicted to how Hudson made me feel, like I was special and desirable and worth taking risks for. Davis never made me feel that way. Davis made me feel safe and comfortable and loved, but that wasn't enough anymore. I wanted to feel alive. I started being mean to Davis, really mean. I'd criticize everything he did and compare him to other guys, told him he was boring and predictable and that we never did anything fun. I was trying to make him break up with me because I was too much of a coward to end it myself. But Davis just took it all. He'd apologize and try harder and ask what he could do to make me happy. The meanness escalated over time. I'd roll my eyes when he talked about work or his friends or his hobbies. I'd make sarcastic comments about his clothes or his car or his taste in music. I started acting like being with him was this huge burden instead of appreciating how good he was to me. Davis started walking on eggshells around me, trying so hard to keep me happy that it was honestly pathetic. He'd plan elaborate date nights that I'd find fault with. He'd buy me gifts that I'd criticize for being too practical or not expensive enough. Nothing he did was ever good enough because I was comparing everything to Hudson. The worst part was watching Davis's self-confidence slowly crumble. He went from being the secure guy who was comfortable in his own skin to someone who constantly questioned himself. He'd ask if his outfit looked okay, or if I was having fun, or if I wanted to go somewhere else. It was like I was slowly breaking him down and I couldn't stop myself. Looking back, I think I was trying to destroy the relationship without actually ending it. I wanted Davis to be the bad guy so I could justify what I was doing with Hudson. But Davis refused to play along. He just kept trying to love me harder, which made me feel even worse about myself. The breaking point came when Davis's company announced their annual holiday party. This was a big deal for him because he'd been working on some important project, and his boss was going to be there along with clients and potential investors. Davis was so excited about it. He'd been talking about it for weeks, how it could be a networking opportunity and maybe help with his promotion prospects. He asked me to come with him like 6 different times, made sure I had the date saved, and even offered to buy me a new dress for it. This was Davis's moment to shine professionally, and he wanted me there to support him. Any decent girlfriend would have been excited to go. But Hudson had invited me to some exclusive party the same night, some rooftop thing with a DJ and open bar and all his cool friends. Hudson made it sound like the party of the century, like I'd be crazy to miss it for Davis's boring work function. I should have just broken up with Davis at that point, should have been honest about what was happening instead of continuing to lie and cheat. But I was a coward who wanted to keep both guys without having to choose between them. I told Davis I couldn't go to his party because I felt sick, made up some lie about food poisoning and how I'd just be miserable company anyway. Davis was disappointed, but said he understood. Brought me soup before he left and told me to text him if I needed anything. Then I went to Hudson's party. The party was everything Hudson promised. Great music and beautiful people, and expensive alcohol flowing freely. I got drunk fast because I felt guilty about lying to Davis. Hudson introduced me to everyone as his girlfriend, which should have bothered me more than it did, but I liked how it sounded. I liked being Hudson's girlfriend at this cool party, instead of Davis's girlfriend at some corporate event. Hudson and I were all over each other that night, dancing and making out and not caring who saw us. I was wearing this tiny black dress that was way too revealing, the kind of dress you wear when you want attention, when you want people to look at you and want you. The dress was honestly ridiculous, like barely covered my ass and showed way too much cleavage. I'd bought it specifically for Hudson's party because he'd made some comment about how sexy I'd look in something short and tight. Davis would never have asked me to wear something like that, would never have wanted other guys staring at me the way they were that night. Around midnight, Hudson suggested we crash Davis's work party. He said it would be fun to see what corporate parties were like, make an appearance, and then leave. I was drunk enough that it sounded like a hilarious idea, like we were going to pull some epic prank. In my wasted state, it felt like the perfect way to have both worlds. Show up to Davis's boring party with my exciting boyfriend and prove to everyone that I wasn't as basic as they thought. That I could land a guy like Hudson who was way cooler than their corporate boyfriends. We showed up at Davis's hotel completely wasted. I could barely walk straight in my heels. Hudson was loud and obnoxious and clearly didn't belong there. Everyone was in business casual, and we looked like we'd just rolled out of a nightclub, which we basically had. The contrast was immediate and obvious. Davis's co-workers were all dressed professionally and having polite conversations about work stuff. Hudson and I stumbled in looking like we were heading to a strip club. I was basically falling out of my dress and hanging all over Hudson like some kind of trashy arm candy. I spotted Davis across the room talking to his boss and some other important-looking people. He was wearing his good suit and looked so professional and proud. This was his big night, and there I was about to ruin it. But I was too drunk to care, too caught up in the moment and the adrenaline of doing something crazy. Hudson wrapped his arm around my waist, and we walked right over to Davis's group. The look on Davis's face when he saw us will haunt me forever. Complete shock and confusion, and then dawning horror as he realized what was happening. His boss was in the middle of introducing him to some potential client when I stumbled over in my barely there dress with another man's arm around me. Hudson introduced himself to everyone like nothing was wrong, said he was my boyfriend, and how nice it was to meet Davis's coworkers. The whole group went silent. You could feel the awkwardness radiating off everyone. Davis's boss looked like he was about to hit someone. The client looked uncomfortable. Everyone was staring at us, trying to figure out what was happening. Hudson kept talking about how great the party was and asking people what they did for work. Acting like this was all totally normal. Meanwhile, I'm standing there in my slutty dress, realizing that everyone could see exactly what kind of person I was. Davis didn't say a word. He just looked at me with these eyes I'd never seen before. Not angry or hurt or betrayed, just empty, like he was looking at a stranger, someone he didn't recognize at all. Then he walked away. Didn't make a scene or cause drama or try to explain anything to his boss. Just turned around and left the party. Left me standing there in my slutty dress next to Hudson, feeling like the worst person in the world. Hudson thought it was hilarious, kept making jokes about how uptight corporate people were and how Davis couldn't handle his girlfriend having fun. But I sobered up real fast watching Davis walk out that door, seeing the looks on his coworkers' faces, realizing what I'd just done to someone who loved me. People started whispering and pointing. Davis's boss looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. The client made some excuse about needing to leave early. Within minutes, the professional atmosphere Davis had worked so hard to create was completely destroyed. I tried calling Davis that night, but he didn't answer. Went to his apartment the next morning, but his car was gone. He'd blocked me on everything. Social media, phone, email, like I'd never existed in his life at all. I found out later that Davis quit his job the Monday after the party. Just didn't show up and sent an email resignation. His promotion was basically guaranteed before that night, but he threw it all away rather than face the humiliation of what I'd done to him. Hudson and I lasted about 3 weeks after that. Turns out when the excitement wore off, he was just as boring as anyone else. Plus, he had a drinking problem and commitment issues and was probably cheating on me too. He'd disappear for days without explanation and then show up acting like nothing happened. Had no interest in anything deeper than surface-level fun, no real job or goals or plans for the future. Just wanted to party and hook up and avoid any real responsibility. The things that made Hudson exciting also made him unreliable. He'd cancel dates last minute or show up hours late without apology. He never remembered anything I told him about my life or asked about my day or my feelings. Sex was great, but everything else was shallow and meaningless. Hudson also had zero respect for me. Told me I'd look better if I lost weight or wore more makeup. Made me pay for things even though he supposedly had money. Treated me like I was disposable because he knew I'd cheated on someone else to be with him. But by then, it was too late to fix anything with Davis. The damage was done, and there was no coming back from what I'd done. No explanation that would make it okay. No apology that would undo the humiliation I'd caused him. I tried reaching out through mutual friends, but Davis had disappeared. Moved to a different city for a new job. Started over completely. One of his friends told me he was doing well, but didn't want any contact with me. Ever. That hit harder than anything else. Davis didn't hate me or want revenge or closure. He just wanted me erased from his life completely. I spent months stalking his social media before he blocked me there too, trying to see if he was dating someone new, if he was happy, if he missed me at all, but there was nothing. No trace of our relationship anywhere. Meanwhile, I was falling apart. I couldn't sleep or eat or focus on anything. Lost my job because I kept calling in sick and showing up late. Every relationship after Davis was a disaster because I kept comparing everyone to what I'd thrown away. I went to therapy for a while, and my therapist kept asking why I'd sabotaged such a good relationship. But I didn't have good answers. Just that I was bored and selfish and wanted something more exciting. The therapist said I had issues with self-worth and commitment, that I destroyed things before they could hurt me. Maybe that's all true, but it doesn't change what I did. It doesn't make it okay that I ruined someone's life because I was too immature to appreciate what I had. The worst part is, I know I was wrong. About everything. Davis wasn't boring. He was stable. He wasn't unambitious. He was building something real. I threw away someone who would have done anything for me because I was selfish and immature and wanted drama more than love. I humiliated him in front of his colleagues and destroyed his professional reputation because I was too cowardly to just break up with him honestly. Because I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. Because I thought I could keep him as my safety net while I played around with someone more exciting. Now I'm single and dating guys who treat me like garbage. Guys like Hudson who are fun for a few weeks but have nothing real to offer. I had to move out of my place because I don't know why I'm even writing this. Maybe I want to tell all of you that don't take good men for granted just because they're not flashy. Don't confuse stability with boring or reliability with weakness, and definitely don't show up drunk to your boyfriend's work party with your side piece. Some things you can't come back from. Some bridges you can't rebuild once you've burned them down. Davis was right to walk away without saying anything. There was nothing left to say. I'd already said everything with my actions, that I didn't respect him or our relationship or myself, that I cared more about momentary excitement than lasting love, that I was willing to publicly humiliate him for my own selfish reasons. If you're reading this and you have someone in your life like Davis, someone steady and loving and reliable, please be honest with them. Avoid making the same mistakes that I did. Don't let social media and friends and your own stupid insecurities convince you that you're settling. Some of us spend the rest of our lives trying to find what you already have. And if you're someone like me who's done something unforgivable, who's hurt someone good because you were selfish and immature, don't expect forgiveness. Just learn from it and do better next time. Be better next time. Because the hardest lesson I've learned is that some mistakes are permanent. Some people you lose forever. And sometimes that's exactly what you deserve.